going to proceed with the trial. One of the alternate jurors on the blue jury is still ill and unable to be here today, so we'll proceed in his absence. And I know there's others here who are under the weather. I appreciate very much that you are here and willing to participate in completely favorable circumstances. Others who have personal problems, we appreciate your being here, and we'll obviously try to accommodate your situation as best we can. And we're now ready to proceed with testimony before both juries. This is cross-examination of the witness who was on the stand last Wednesday when both juries were here. And would you step forward, please? Actually, last Tuesday, as I recall. Wednesday. Okay.
You're right.
Yeah, Tuesday, because Wednesday we had other witness and illness. So, yeah. Just name for the record.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
testified in this case?
Yes.
Are you aware of the fact that numerous teachers testified in this case?
No.
Are you aware of the fact that numerous coaches testified in this case?
Objection irrelevant.
Overall, you can answer that question.
I only know of one coach that testified.
Okay, so you only know of one. Are you aware of the fact that friends of Kitty and Jose testified in this case?
Particular friends,
Any friends?
I'm not.
You are aware, however, that your former wife, Pat Andersen, testified in this case,
Yes,
and that your sister Joan testified in this case.
yes,
And in fact, you viewed a videotape of their testimony.
that's correct.
And you are therefore aware that you testified quite differently than Pat Andersen did about the incident in Kalamazoo.
Objection argumentative.
Sustained.
Now, are you aware that no one besides yourself has said that Eric talked back to his parents?
Objection argumentative.
Sustained as to the former question.
Are you aware of any other testimony in this case besides yours and what Pat Andersen said about Eric saying shut up to Jose after Jose was haranguing him, to the effect that Eric talked back to either of his parents?
Objection lack of foundation argumentative.
Sustained.
Now, you said that you cannot give us any incident whatsoever in order to illustrate what you're talking about. Is that correct, Mr. Anderson?
At this time, without giving it some thought, no.
Well, you have had at least a week and a half to give it some thought, have you not, since you first made this statement to Mrs. Bozanich a week ago Sunday?
Objection argumentative.
Rephrase the question.
Didn't you first make this statement to Mrs. Bozanich a week ago Sunday?
If that's when I made the statement.
And that's 10 days. You've had some time to think about it, have you not?
I've had 10 days, yes.
And in fact, when Mrs. Bozanich was examining you, can you move on? I might have a moment. At page 22579 of volume 130. Do you recall that even when Mrs. Bozanich examined you last Tuesday, a week ago, she asked you if you have a specific incident, well, strike that. She asked you first, did you ever see Eric talk back to his parents during the course of his life? And you said yes. And then she asked, do you have a specific incident in mind that you can recall? Or is this a general impression that you have? Or can you tell us what that is? And your answer was frequently it was when they were together. You remember she asked you if you had a specific incident even a week ago, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So you've had at least a week to think about it, right? And you haven't been able to come up with an incident, is that correct, Mr. Anderson?
On the assumption, that's all I've been thinking about, that's correct.
All right. Now, you also testified that you heard Eric use mild profanity towards his mother. Is that right?
That's correct.
And the words that you gave us in court were goddamn and bullshit.
That's right.
Yes. Would you give me an incident that you recall where Eric, well, first of all, I'm going to ask you this. In what sense would he tell his mother, God damn you, or your bullshit? I mean, the question was not did he use it in her presence, but did he use it at her? You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. So can you give me an incident where Eric used these words at his mother?
Specific incidents,
Yes, please.
which goes back to the question of whether I can remember him talking back to his mother. I cannot,
Oh, is this the same thing? Is talking back the use of these words, or is talking back separate than the use of these words?
well, I would, that's a matter of your questioning. I cannot recall one particular incident at this particular time.
Okay. Can you recall any incident where he was rude to his mother or talked back to his mother?
As I sit here and think with your questioning, the answer is yes.
Okay. Tell me about it.
On a fishing trip that Eric and Kitty have run with me in August of 1986.
1986?
1986.
Okay. And what happened?
We were camped out on an island and on a not on an island, but on a peninsula of a lake overnight camping. And I was going to go fishing in the morning, and Kitty preferred that she was not going to go with me. She wanted Eric to go with her, and he was quite upset about it, but he complied with his mother's wishes.
So his being upset with her was an act of rebellion, in your opinion?
Well, he was vociferous about it.
But he did it.
Mhm.
And now you're sure this was August of 86?
As I best recall.
Okay. What did he say to her? Do you remember?
Not exactly.
Now, can you give us a specific incident of Lyle using, we'll strike that. I want to go back to the goddamn and the bullshit. Pardon me. You're saying he used those words. Are you saying you specifically remember, with no memory of an incident, Eric saying those words to his mother?
It was, from my experience, it was part of his conversation when he was frustrated or upset.
So
with
when
his
he
mother.
was frustrated or upset, he'd say, God damn it, or that's bullshit? Things like that?
Things of that nature.
Okay, so he wasn't cursing at his mother. He was just using these words when he was upset. Is that what you're saying?
That I hear him using that vernacular toward his mother.
Toward his mother.
That's correct.
All right, now, you're remembering these specific words, but you cannot remember an incident in which they were used. Is that your testimony?
At this particular time, I cannot remember a specific incident.
What about Lyle? You said that Lyle used this kind of language with both parents. Do you have a specific incident?
I can't focus on one at this time.
Okay. Now, I want to talk to you about this trip to Quito. It's true, is it not, Mr. Anderson, that you told Mrs. Bozanich the trip was supposed to be occurring in the fall, but when you testified, you said the plan was for winter. You changed that, is that right?
Well, I changed it. The trip was planned, it was a general plan for the fall, winter 89, 90.
Okay. Did you know what other trips your sister had planned for the fall of 1989?
I may have, I can't think of any now.
Do you know what was happening with respect to Lyle and a condominium that his parents were purchasing for him in Princeton that fall?
I was vaguely aware of that.
Excuse me?
I was vaguely aware of that.
Were you aware of your sister's plans to go to Princeton that fall to help Lyle furnish and buy furniture for him and do those things to set him up in the condominium?
That conversation may have come up.
Well, I'm not asking you to guess. I'm asking if you remember. It may have come up, but it also may not have come up.
No.
Okay. So I really need what you remember and not what you might have heard.
Okay, I've had many conversations with my sisters, I've said before, and I.
So you don't recall this one, is that
Not for
right?
that particular one.
And do you recall her telling you anything about needing to be in Los Angeles in the fall so that she could set Eric up in his dormitory at UCLA?
Well, there was conversation about him going to UCLA.
But the specific thing I've asked is her plans for her involvement in setting his dorm up in the fall.
She may have, but I don't recall a particular
You don't recall.
conversation.
Okay. And did you know that there were plans for her and Jose to go to Hawaii with Terry and Carlos in October?
I don't recall that.
Now, have you ever discussed this Quito trip with your cousin June?
Yes,
When was that?
after the murders.
And are you relying on June's information in saying that there was a plan?
Oh, no,
And June lives in Northern California.
that's correct.
When did you last speak to her?
Oh, some months ago.
Did you talk to her before your decision to testify?
I spoke with her earlier this year. I think it was probably around, I just don't remember. It was earlier in the year.
And did the topic of this proposed keto trip come up in that discussion
It did
earlier
not.
this year?
No.
Did you go on a vacation with Eric after his parents were killed?